Good evening, everyone. There's a video I've been wanting to make for a while now, and it's in regards to panic buying and prepping and things of that nature. Now, I uploaded a video an hour ago, and I've received a couple of interesting comments on it, which is what sparked this video tonight. So I'm going to get into this a little bit. Now, this article is on the 7 News website, and it's from back in January when we were put into the 3-day lockdown. Now, it's saying that panic buying begins. Now, I have a question. Is it actually panic buying? Or consider what happens at Christmas time or before any public holiday. The shops go absolutely insane. People are just going, they're everywhere. You would think the shops were going to be shut down for weeks, and it's only one day. Now, with this lockdown, it was a 3-day lockdown. It wasn't just a 1-day public holiday. And people had experience from previous lockdowns that other people were going to go a bit nutty on the whole thing. So people naturally and understandably stocked up a little bit. Now, I don't necessarily think this is panic buying. I think it's probably just normal human behaviour. But what's not taken into consideration is the supply chains for the shops. Okay, so this is the Business Insiders in India, but it actually applies everywhere, really, because most of our shops run on a just-in-time inventory type basis. Now, I don't work in the shops, but I have been aware of this for well over a decade, that in general, the stores only have 3 days worth of food. And if there is no problems, if trucks aren't stopped, if there isn't a natural disaster, then that's fine. It's not a problem at all. And for things like Christmas and other public holidays, the shops are able to prepare for that and make sure they've got extra stock. Now, when you have an emergency, unexpected 3-day lockdown, or any kind of lockdown, or any kind of disaster really, the stores have not had a chance to prepare for the increased demand. Now, I don't see that as panic buying. That's just an increased demand because people are not going to be able to leave their house. I mean, yes, they're going to be able to go to the shops, but they also know that everybody else is going, oh, I need to go to the shops. And it could just be that that's their regular day in the week to actually go and do their shopping. Now, some people buy fortnightly, some people buy daily. I couldn't handle that because I would just spend way too much money, because I walk into the shops for one thing and come back out with 20 other things. I mean, it's not that it's not stuff that I didn't need, it's just stuff that I had forgotten about. And anyway, but the point is, a lot of people are saying that it's the preppers that are causing all the panic buying. And no, it's not. Because the preppers are prepared. They don't need to run to the shops and buy up everything on the shelves. They have 3 days worth of food, a week's worth of food, 2 weeks worth of food, a month's worth of food. Some of them have 3 months worth of food. And there are actually a lot of people now that are actually preparing for longer time periods. So they've got 6 months worth of food and 12 months worth of food stored in their homes, and they grow their own gardens. So they're providing their own food and producing their own food, as well as having a backup of those staple ingredients. And this is probably the one thing that we really need to look at doing. Now, there are many government websites out there that are actually encouraging people to have 3 days worth of food, 7 days worth of food, having emergency food in your house. This is the Queensland government website because I'm in Queensland, so this is what I looked at. But there's there are websites in all government departments. Not that I necessarily think the government knows everything about everything. In fact, that's beside the point. That's a totally different subject. So this list is actually an emergency pantry list and has a list of things of what you'd need for 2 people older than 12 months for 7 days based on the Australian Dietary Guidelines. Now, I don't necessarily agree with the Australian Dietary Guidelines because they have grains very high up on the list, and I know a lot of people, me included, do not react well to wheat. Wheat can be a very big problem for a lot of people. But you can have other grains, like there's always rolled oats, there's spelt grain, there's a lot of other things that have grain, and I also don't think we should be consuming as much grain as the Australian Dietary Guidelines say we should. But that's, again, another story. So this is giving you an idea of what you need. So breakfast cereals, you'd need 28 times 30 gram single-use bowls or boxes, or 2 400 to 450 boxes, or 1 800 to 900 box. And this goes into flatbread or whole grain crisp biscuits, because obviously you're not going to be able to store bread. You could actually store grain and make your own bread if you've got a grinder, which I actually do. It's been a long time since I've made bread, but I want to get back into that. And it suggests stuff for ready-to-eat rice and noodles, and then you've got your fruits and your vegetables. Now, leave down in the comments below, how much of this sort of stuff do you actually have planned for and prepared in your cupboard? I know I've got a few friends that are avid preppers, and other friends that go to the shops every day. I kind of am somewhere in the middle there. But this website gives you a list and some ideas of things to actually have in your house, like long life milk or powdered milk or long life cheese. I don't think I'd suggest that. I also wouldn't recommend the long life custard either, but that's because I've got goats, so I get milk daily from my girls, and I make my own milk and produce my own milk. And well, I'm not producing it, the goats are. I'm harvesting it from the goats, and then I make my own homemade custard with my homegrown eggs. But it's important to have these sort of things in the house for various different reasons. It could be that we've been put into a lockdown because of a pandemic. It could be that there's been a cyclone and there's been a natural disaster and we've got, the trucks have been stopped and we're all flooded in. It could be a number of different reasons that actually could make it so that you need to have this 7 days worth of food stored in your cupboard. Or be growing something, or have chickens. Because if you've got chickens, if nothing else, you've got eggs. So you can actually make scrambled eggs, you can make all sorts of different things with eggs, and eggs are a fantastic source of nutrients. Which also brings one other thing to mind, that if you do have animals, you need to have food for them as well as food for you and your family. So it's important to actually look at incorporating some of these ideas into your general daily lifestyle. And it's not about going out and buying mountains of food all in one go. It's about picking up a couple of extra things when you're at the shops. Or you could actually set up a system where you do a big shop to get all of these things that are listed on here and have your 7 days of food, but then remember to rotate it out, because you need to make sure that you've got stuff in there that you actually eat. There's no point in buying 100 kilos of dried beans if you don't cook with dried beans and you don't know what to do with them. Which actually brings me to another thing, actually looking at changing our diets and eating more things that we prepare at home, which is another thing is very important for so many different reasons. But this video is getting long enough, and I've covered the basic thing that I wanted to, which is, I don't know that it is panic buying that people are doing. I think it's just the shops did not get a chance to actually prepare for the severe influx of customers on that one particular day. So they didn't have the staff, they didn't have the stock, and they just were not prepared for a sudden lockdown. And that causes huge issues. Now, I'm sure there are people out there that work at grocery stores that are likely to come and correct me. And more than open to your correction, I am not an expert on these things. But these are my observations, and it's my opinion. I think we need to stop looking at people and going, oh, crazy panic buyers. And instead encourage people to actually have a store of food in their homes for disasters. For if we have a flood. For if there are fires. Fire's not as big a problem because you'd have to leave your house anyway. But if there's floods, we get floods in Queensland quite regularly. Haven't had one for a while. Like the last one that I remember was 2017. That wasn't fun. I'll leave links up for that one. We were at Eagleby there and got flooded in for 3 days, I think. I mean, and that has changed my mindset on actually preparing for floods. But then in 2011, I was in a normal suburban block and we lost power for 3 days. So it's also about preparing for that. What do you do if you lose power for 3 days? Aside from lose everything in your freezer if you haven't got a generator. But yeah, it's things like that. Things we need to start thinking about. But anyway, leave your comments below. I'd love to know how many days worth of food you've got prepared for. You don't need to be exact because I know that's not necessarily a great thing. But do you think it's a good idea? Do you think you should be prepared? I'd love to hear your feedback. Write down in the comments below. Do you think it's important to prepare, and how many days do you think you should prepare for? Do you have a garden? Do you have a source of water? Do you have a way to purify water if water gets contaminated? Yeah, there's so much that you can actually look at. But that's enough for today. Have a great one. And remember to like and subscribe to the channel for all sorts of interesting things relating to homesteading, prepping, homeschooling, animals, goats, chickens, plants, aquaponics, and all that sort of jazz. Anyway, you have a great one. Bless you.